Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Jamie Trull here. And I am live. I am fully live right now. I'm live in the Financial Literacy for Women Business Owners Facebook group. If you aren't a member there, why not? Come on over and join us over on Facebook. I'm also live on my Facebook page and I'm live over on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching me over there, smash that like button, as my son would say, who just started his own YouTube channel, and subscribe. That would be great to have you subscribed. Okay, this is fully live. It is April 12th. So we are closing in, y'all. We are closing in on that tax deadline. So we're going to talk about if you are in a place where you haven't filed your taxes this year and you're trying to figure out what the heck to do, and maybe you're scrambling a little bit. There is no judgment allowed in this place. I do not judge you. I'll be honest, I have not filed my taxes yet either. I'm usually way on top of it, but our taxes were a little bit more complex this year for a couple of reasons. So it's taken a little bit longer to really have enough time to dive into everything. So no judgment from me if you are in that place where you haven't filed yet and you're trying to figure out what to do. Again, reminder that the good thing for you, the plus side here, is that because of the way that the days are falling this year, typically, obviously, we know April 15th is usually the deadline, but that's what, Saturday? Yeah, that's a Saturday. So that's not going to happen. And even with holidays and things like that, it's actually April 18th this year that you need to file your taxes by. So you have a couple of extra days. So that is no, it's absolutely not bad. And in fact, I do that as well. So I'll tell you what I do. We're going to talk about tax extensions here and how to do a free tax extension if you are in this place. I would go ahead, even if you think you might get there by April 15th, go ahead and file that free tax extension to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Okay. I am a really big advocate for filing a tax extension. I have filed one for myself. I'm still intending on getting it in by the 18th, but in case I don't, in case life happens, I know that I've already extended and I have time. Now, what I will say is that I would recommend, and this is just kind of a recommendation on my part when it comes to tax extensions. Yes, if you extend your personal tax return, that will give you until October 15th. I think it actually, because of days, it's the 16th this year to file your taxes, right? Doesn't give you an extension to pay. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But if you do that, you get until October. Well, what happens a lot of times then is that we just kind of like let taxes, off of our minds, and we go about our day, and then we go through the summer, and then the fall gets a little bit crazy, and then all of a sudden we're in the same place again where we are maybe scrambling a little bit to get things together for that October deadline. So what I want to challenge anybody who is, in that spot potentially, even if you file an extension, try to set a date to get this done by. I know for me, I am drop dead by the end of April. My taxes will be done because I don't want it hanging over me. And that's something that just, anytime we do this, sometimes like we'll forget about it, but it's still hanging out in the back of our mind and it's still bugging us that we need to do this thing. And I've got enough things on my to-do list, y'all. I don't need this to be hanging forever. So I highly recommend, and it's also going to be easier to work with if you work with an accountant to file your taxes. They are going to love you if you can get all of your things to them, even if you extend, if you don't wait until October, because the busiest times you can probably guess for accountants are probably starting like end of March into mid-April, when they're filing, last minute on those tax returns, oftentimes on the deadline. And then it picks back up again in October. But in the middle, everybody goes, about their day and forgets about taxes. And then it just causes a little bit of a fury. So you will get more attention from your CPA or your tax preparer if you are not kind of adding to the frenzy right before the tax deadline. That's when mistakes happen. That's true for you and I as well. And that's true for them, right? You're not going to have as much time to really analyze and look at it. It's just a matter of trying to get it done. So I highly recommend, even if you file an extension, right, which go ahead and do that today. But even if you file an extension, go ahead and make a goal for when you want to get this done by. I know a lot of us don't want this hanging over us going into the summer, so make that goal. if you were wondering how to file a free extension, I know a lot of people like wonder, has my tax preparer done this? And, can I file an extension, or are they going to file an extension? And they're waiting to hear from them. And again, your tax preparer is probably underwater right now with a million different emails and requests. So if you want to go ahead and file a tax extension, you can do that for free. I actually set up a short link. I use Tax Act for it. That's not even what I use to file my taxes, but I found it to be the easiest way to file a free extension. So if you go to jamietroll.com/extension, that will redirect you to Tax Act and where you can file a free extension. And you do not have to use them to file your taxes later. Okay, so you can just file that free extension with them, and that's all you do, and it doesn't cost you anything. And then you're good to go until October. Again, don't use all that time if you don't have to, but then you're good to go. And they also do free extensions for things like your 1120S, which was due March 15th. If you have a corporate return that's due April 15th, like a C Corp return, they can do it free extensions for that. Partnership returns. So this year, before March 15th, so my husband has a partnership. I have an S Corporation. We also have some extra LLCs. We're a little crazy. That's why this year's been a little nuts. I went in and did extensions before March 15th for everything. Just to have it done and to not have to worry about it. I just went ahead and did it. I actually still got in by the deadline a few of those things, but I just wanted to give myself a little bit of that time. Do you risk losing any kind of tax breaks or incentives if not filed by April 18th? No. So now what you may have, and this is kind of an important distinction, right? And this is where people can kind of shoot themselves in the foot a little bit, is that when you file an extension, you are only filing an extension to file, right? To file those, your 1040. You are not getting an extension for to pay. Okay. So this is where it gets confusing, because a lot of people are like, well, how am I supposed to know how much I'm supposed to pay if I haven't done my taxes yet? And if I knew how much I was supposed to pay, I would just go ahead and file it. It's kind of like this chicken or the egg thing, right? Where you're like, how am I supposed to know? So you kind of have to estimate it as best you can. So even if you are filing an extension, remember, even if you filed a tax extension and you end up owing, it only matters for those who owe. If you think you're going to get a refund back, then this isn't an issue for you, right? Then I would still try to file as soon as you can, because you want to get that refund ASAP. But a lot of business owners want that extra time to do all the calculations. Well, the problem is if they have underpaid by more than about $1,000, and there are some safe harbor rules we'll talk about, but if they've underpaid by about $1,000 or more, they're going to probably have interest and penalties on that amount. Now, is it huge amounts? No, I mean, it's not going to be massive, especially if you pay it by October 15th, but it's always going to be best to just go ahead and try to avoid those things if you can, right? So the best methodology for that is going to be paying all year long and trying to make sure that you're as accurate as possible with estimated taxes that you're paying, with the amount that you're withholding from potential paychecks if you have them, right? That's the goal. We want to get it to where we don't have to pay these extra taxes right before we file our taxes, right before the 15th. And so we want to make sure that we have considered all of that, and that we have, tried to throughout the year, right, been paying in enough that we don't have to pay an extra. But sometimes we might need to, right? And if we do, we want to do that before that April 15th, or in this case, April 18th deadline. Okay. And that's for 2022 in this case. The April 18th is also the deadline for estimated taxes for Q1, the first quarter of 2023. So you have two things due on April 18th this year. Your payments, if you have to make any catch-ups from last year, if you didn't pay in enough based on the amount you're going to owe, right? Or if you have to pay estimated taxes. And a lot of times the reason you have to pay estimated taxes is probably if you are a profitable business, if you are taking any kind of owner's draws out of your business, or even if you don't, you likely should be paying estimated taxes, even if you are an S corporation that pays yourself a salary, because the taxes being withheld on your salary are typically, unless you've gone in to adjust your withholdings, are typically only going to be related to that salary portion. You still have income taxes on the rest of your profit above and beyond your salary, even in an S corporation. Okay. So estimated taxes are a thing. There are a lot of different strategies you can use to, kind of get around it in terms of if you want to increase your withholding of your paychecks. I know a lot of S corp owners just don't pay estimated taxes, but they increase their withholding that they're doing from their paychecks to cover it. So there are some strategies you can use there. But ultimately, it's best to be paying it year round. And remember, April 18th, Q1 of this year is due, and your payments for last year, if any more, are due. Thanks. I lost one of them, but I've got my. It goes with. Hang on. Since you mentioned it, I'll show you. It is to match my purse. How cute is this, right? Hashtag the exclusive look. Where I buy all of my clothing. Okay, let's see. So, Anna asked, do you run the risk of losing any kind of? You asked me this. This is what I was going to. Do you need to file an extension if you don't owe? Yes, you should file an extension even if you don't owe, because you can have failure to file penalties potentially. Now, I would just do it as a matter of practice. In reality, it may not be a big deal. You may not have any penalties or anything like that. I would go ahead and do it. As a matter of best practice, I would go ahead and do it. There's no reason not to. It'll take you 5 minutes, right? So go ahead and make those extensions, even if you expect that you are going to, even if you expect that you aren't going to owe, I would go ahead and file the extension. Just as a matter of best practice. Okay, so let's talk about Safe Harbor really quickly. Okay, so again, if you need to file that extension, go to jamietroll.com/extension. Again, I don't get any commissions for this one. I just set up this short link because I thought it was easier. I'm not an affiliate for Tax Act. Plus, this is free. But I just thought it'd be easier because the long link is really long to put up here. And this way I'll remember it and I can give it to you. So jamietroll.com/extension. It works as of today. If for whatever reason that link doesn't work later on, just go to Tax Act and go to the file for free and then walk through the steps and just go straight into to the free extension filing. There are a few things with regards to the safe harbor. So if you're trying to figure out how much you're going to owe to pay in, the best thing to do is probably to go back and look at how much taxes were due last year. Okay. And this is to get around, this won't necessarily estimate, especially if your business has grown a lot, if you've made more money this year. Looking at last year is not going to be helpful from the standpoint of actually trying to estimate the taxes due, but it is going to be helpful in getting around any fines and penalties for underpayment. Okay, so as far as safe harbor, that's going to help you not have underpayment penalties and things like that. So if we jump into your 1040 from last year, okay, pull up your individual income tax for last year, and I'm just going to present this just to show you exactly where to look, because I know there's a million different lines and it's confusing as to what is what on here. But if you're looking at your 1040 from last year, right? On the second page of that 1040, you're going to have line 24. That's going to be under taxes and credits. That is the total tax that was due from you last year. Okay. So the way this tax return really just works is it's a whole bunch of schedules to calculate the taxes that you owe to get down to this line 24, which is your total tax. Okay. And this is on all of your income. This includes any business income. This includes any W-2 income or 1099 income or interest and dividend income. All of this income is in here, and they're going to subtract out some credits, and then it's going to get to your total tax due. And then they're going to compare that to the amount you have paid in. Okay, so that's how this tax return works. Here are all the ways you've paid in. It's basically saying, what was withheld from your salary. You probably didn't have any income tax withheld on a 1099, but they put that there just in case you did. And then there's a place for, estimated tax payments, right? So ultimately the goal of this is to say, okay, here's how much tax I owe. Here's how much I've paid in. And then your refund or amount you owed is just the difference, right? So if you've paid in more than you owe, right? If line, 33 is bigger than line 24, you get a refund. If line 33 is smaller than line 24, you have to pay. Okay. And yes, to get the exact amount, you're probably going to want to have to go through the whole thing, but The safe harbor is if you pay 100% in of this line 24, and remember, this is federal income tax and self-employment tax, which would include Social Security and Medicare tax. Okay, so Social Security, Medicare, federal income tax, all of that is included in here. Not state tax. This is just federal, and not anything like sales tax or anything like that. This is just federal income tax and payroll taxes. That's how much line 24 is how much you've paid in. If you pay that same amount, okay, you by, April 15th of this year, you should not have interest and penalties. That is your safe harbor. There are some, I'm not going to get into all the little nitty gritty. If you make more than $150,000, it may be more than that. It may be more like 110%. I'm not going to get into all the things because I'll probably lose you, but just know that typically paying in at least 100%, most people I know go a little bit above that, right? Just to make sure they hit that mark. Don't try to get it on the penny. I did that one year and I actually ended up being a little bit off in my calculations and then had to pay a little bit, which drove me crazy as an accountant. So just pay a little bit more than that. Now, the other option is to pay in at least 90% of this year. But in order to do that, you have to know what this year's is, right? So if you have gone down a lot in your income from last year, instead of, paying in what you did last year, if you're like, last year was a crazy year for me, this year was way down, you may not want to do 100% of last year. You may want to do 90% of this year, but you're going to have to do some calculations to figure out what that is. And when you're comparing to what you have paid in, remember, that includes all withholding taxes that have come out of paychecks and estimated taxes that you have paid in separately through the IRS website. Okay, so you want to add up all of that to see how much you've in total paid in, compare it to what you paid in last year, and maybe make a payment between now and April 18th to cover that difference in order to, insulate yourself from having to pay fines and penalties and things like that. Okay, so that's my kind of, overall advice for those who are in that spot. Go file that tax extension, do a quick back of the envelope calculation, make a payment, and then you've got a little bit of extra time. But then I still would make sure that maybe within the next month or so, you aim to get those taxes done and dusted and, off of your plate, right? That is my recommendation, my personal and professional recommendation. One other recommendation I have, here's where I do the shameless plug. We do have a sale going on. If anybody is in that spot where they are trying to scramble for taxes or even just want to be better prepared for next year, maybe you already did your taxes this year, but you want to be better prepared for next year. We are doing a sale on our Ultimate Getting Ready for Taxes bundle. And it's normally $150. That's what it sells for on our website. But I have a special link for you today where you can get it for 66% off of that. So it's very, very cheap for the next couple of days, only through the tax deadline. Just thought it would be fun to do kind of a tax deadline sale. Never tried it before. We'll see how it goes. But go to jamietrull.com/tax bundle to go check out everything that's in there. So we have a P&L template that will help you create a P&L and you don't have to use a software. So we don't have to pay for a software if you have a very simple business model. We have a template in there that will help you create a P&L very easily, just using kind of, what runs through your bank. So we want to make it super simple. We have tutorials in there. We have checklists and worksheets in there. We have some information around making sure that you're getting all the tax deductions you need. So it's great for people who are home-based. We walk through that. We walk through things like mileage, various other tax deductions you might not be aware of. So it really is about making sure you're not paying too much in taxes and that you can get prepared for taxes. And this is what it is. jamietrull.com/tax bundle. So go check it out. Again, it's on sale for a couple of days. So if you're watching this after April 18th, that link is probably going to take you to the full price offer. So definitely go check it out now at jamietrull.com/tax bundle if you want to go ahead and grab that. Again, it'd be great to help you for the current year or even for next year if you just want to go ahead and grab it while it's on sale. All right. So thank you for giving me a minute for my shameless plug, but I do think it's a really helpful tool. We designed it for people who just want to get organized and make sure they're not missing anything important. Okay, how's everybody feeling? Hopefully everybody's doing okay with this upcoming tax deadline. Remember, just go ahead, file that extension, give yourself a moment to breathe, and then you can jump back into it when you have the time. But that is generally what I recommend. And honestly, I'm going to get off of here and I'm probably going to go work on my taxes right now because I kind of want to try and get it in by the 18th, even though I've already filed my extensions. So that is my goal for myself. I'll let you know if I actually achieve that. We shall see. But that's my goal. So thanks, everybody. I hope this was helpful, and happy filing. Bye for now.